Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It is the After Hours Report. Apple's beat is in. Their print has hit the street. How did they do? If you know, drop it in the comments. If not, I'm going to save you some time and give you some real strong highlights from the quarter. We'll also just take a look at how that impacts our favorite sector overall, which is memory. But we know how important these earnings are for Apple today. Boy, did we see a difference of the tale of two tapes, or tale of two tapes? I don't know, the tale of two cities, let's say, when we call it, with Microsoft and Meta today. Both went in opposite directions. Both beat expectations. Both had strong quarters. But today, Microsoft lost $357 billion in market cap. They went down significantly. I think it's maybe a great opportunity to buy the dip. You do the research, make sure it's right for you. But just saying, great company, strong fundamentals, could be a great time to enter into the market at the price point we are right now. Meta, on the other hand, went up by over 10% today. Had a great day. The market, the street, the market loved the way that they were able to show that they can monetize AI. So we're going to jump in and take a look exactly what Apple did today. What are some of the highlights from it? And then how does that, like the themes that we saw across all four of these, Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, and Apple now, how does that impact us folks that are holding shares and are vested in companies in the memory sector? So let's jump in first and take a look at what an analyst had to say about Apple's report, and then I'll jump in and show you the specifics. But if you haven't had a chance, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your time. All right, let's jump in.
Tim Cook gets to keep his job, right? At least for now. This is a massive quarter. This is a home run, their greatest quarter ever by orders of magnitude. It's a gigantic beat on overall revenue. China is back. You have a big beat on the iPhone in particular. $85 billion quarter is just insane. The installed base, 2.5 billion. The numbers are just beyond excellent. We could ignore the fact they missed on wearables, home and accessories. We can ignore the fact they missed on Mac. We can ignore the fact.
Hey, greatest quarter ever. That is quite a statement to make about this quarterly earnings for Apple. Let's jump in and look at some of the details specifically on why they're calling that out. If you can see on the screen, the demand was driven by the iPhones. You may have heard that in the video. So they had revenue for iPhone sales of just under $86 billion in the quarter. It was up 23% year over year. Obviously, the iPhone 17 has been a home run for Apple. They also saw their revenue for the quarter go up to $144 billion, which is a 16% increase over prior year. And China is back, as they mentioned. I'll scroll down here. You can see it. 38% increase over last year, 25.5 billion in iPhone sales in China. Overall sales up, iPhone sales up 23%, as I mentioned. Gross margins up 48%, beating consensus on earnings per share of 284. Just a fabulous quarter overall for Apple. I think you're moving right now to a price target for Apple of 288 a share, trading well below that. We're not seeing a big increase for them from their earnings in after hours like we saw from some of the other companies yesterday. Last time I saw was about 1% increase. So pretty moderate overall. I think some of the concerns will be, can they keep up with the capacity they'll need for these iPhone sales in the next quarter? There was a report that came out from Samsung and SK Hynix that said there may be concerns with some of the memory for iPhones and for computers as they shift their priorities to higher revenue producing areas like data centers and AI. So they're driving more towards some of the memory for those areas. Could have a spillover effect on the iPhone sales. We'll keep our eyes on it. We know that Apple will be able to pressure Samsung just with the relationship and the amount of revenue they have with that company. So let's hope for the next quarter it's not a concern. We don't see consumer prices go up for these products, which would have an impact overall. But good quarter for Apple across the board. We know that we'll see what happens to them tomorrow out of the gate. It doesn't seem to be as volatile as we saw with Meta and Microsoft, of course, yesterday. But I'm not sure we'll see that quite a bit. That was a shocker. Like I said, Microsoft lost $257 billion in market cap today, down at one point 12%. I think they brought it back up to about down 10%, but still a significant blow to the company overall. I am going to jump in and just let's take a look at the impact for these on the memory play sector. So let's see. Let me jump over, guys, here, and we'll see. Hopefully you can hold on. Let me find that again. All right, guys, I found it. Let's jump over and take a look at the impact on some memory stocks for today. Two reported, and then obviously Micron. We're going to take a look. Always looking at Micron to see the impact over there. So let's first start off with Western Digital. So Western Digital reported today as well. As you can see on the screen, they closed at 278, actually down just over $1, about $1.30, half a share point down. Western had a great quarter as well. They beat expectations. Western was up. Their revenue was up by 25%, closed at about just over $3 billion. Consensus was $2.94 billion, so outpacing consensus. Earnings per share were $2.13, outpacing consensus of $1.93. And then the adjusted the gross margins were up by 46%, outpacing consensus there. And they gave great forward guidance for the next quarter, looking at revenue anywhere between 3.1 and 3.3, and earnings per share anywhere between $2.15 and $2.45. So great earning for them, but they didn't grow. And let's take a look at what they're doing in the after hours as well, because I think when you take a look at after hours, we'll see that they're continuing to slide. If you look here, the after hours or the pre-market, now we're at about $5 down, almost 2% down. So why is Western taking a hit and not growing on the market they have? I think some of it is the price has already been built into the price. They expected earnings here. It's already, we know Western's had a massive performance over the last year. So it's built in. And so this is just kind of validating what we thought. And the price is pretty flat, staying across the board, just down 0.5%. But do we think Western will continue to rise tomorrow? Will it stay flat or will it grow? And let's take a look at another stock that reported outstanding earnings today as well. So SanDisk, and a shout out to Pablo on the channel, who's a big believer in SanDisk. Thanks for your comments earlier, Pablo. But you were right. SanDisk has had a fabulous quarter across the board. You know, SanDisk was up by 61% year over year in the quarter. You can see the impact it had on the stock. So $539 a share it closed at, was up over 2%, almost $12 a share. But look what's going on in the after hours. SanDisk is the winner in the after hours that I see right now, picking up over $90 a share, almost 17% growth. And they're tracking at $630 a share right now. We're definitely going to see some profit taking when we start off the morning tomorrow. That's my guess. You're going to see it drop, but I think it'll recover based on what we're seeing. And can it stay above the 600 mark? That would be a huge moment for SanDisk. And then let's take a look at Micron. Micron across the board had a strong day, upward trend. You could see here we had a doji star bearish indicator right here where it started some recovery and continued to finish strong throughout the close of the day. Micron finished up, not terrible amount, half 50 cents up, 0.12. It's closed at 435.79. But look what's happened in the after hours of Micron too. We've passed the 450 barrier. We've gained $16 in the after hours, almost closing in on a 4% gain there for Micron. Love to see it. We'll keep growing. Can we see Micron push to that estimate that a lot of us believe, which is that $500 a share based on some of the demand that we see in the market? So, guys, overall, the memory stocks are cooking right now. And we got to ask ourselves why based on these earnings. And this is my themes across the board. If you take a look at Apple, Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla, real quick themes. I say Apple kind of sets the floor. It stabilizes the memory market for us. We saw record-breaking iPhone sales. We know that's going to drive NAND memory. That's going to keep players like Micron incredibly busy. We know with Apple, the iPhone 17 and Apple Intelligence being launched later this year, that's going to drive more memory per device as well. So that will continue to validate and strengthen the memory game. When we look at Microsoft, they have massive build-out in data centers. We know the memory that's associated with the data centers. Now, Microsoft, their stock got hammered for that CapEx associated with their AI cloud and kind of the infrastructure build out there. But we know from a memory perspective, you'll love to see that investment because demand is going to follow and it's going to keep our players like Micron and the other memory players really driving and keep them hot in this segment. When you look at Meta, the one thing I say there is we're proving that AI investment drives returns. So Meta was able to prove through its AI performance ads that they're driving revenues. This is going to continue encourage more investment in the infrastructure from Meta and more kind of investment overall to build out AI, which is a great play, again, for memory. And then finally, Tesla. Tesla's expanding beyond just the data centers. So you think about what they talked about in their earnings. They talked about full service driving. They talked about Optimus robots and obviously the robo-taxis. All of those are going to drive compute. Memory it's going to drive on-demand compute and the need for high bandwidth memory. So you think about we're shifting away from the data centers here. What Tesla is sharing, we're shifting to on-edge devices, which is going to expand the memory market even more. So take away my themes would be that Apple stabilizes it. Microsoft is investing in scaling it with some of the data centers. We see Meta validating the memory play with being able to monetize and show returns and revenues with all of the spending. And then finally, Tesla is expanding into different areas. These are all great opportunities for memory players. They're great opportunities. You saw Seagate the other day, Western, SanDisk, Micron. We certainly know Samsung and SK Hynix showed outstanding results as well. So memory sector is staying strong. What do you guys think? What's your thoughts? Will we keep hot in the memory sector? What do you think? Who do you think will be the long-term winner from the earnings today when we look out over the next 3 to 6 months? And then if you were sitting in Google or Amazon shoes right now, with the way we've seen the market respond to some of these earnings that are beating expectations, but yet the stock's not growing like we expected, are you a little nervous right now to be Google or Amazon? Who do you think is going to have a better earnings next week? Have a great night, guys. Love to hear your comments. Drop them down below. I answer every single one. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Take care soon.